What's good, y'all?
Hey, what's going on?
Same old same. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
So we're gonna get right into it. How's everybody doing today?
I'm good. I'm, I'm good. It was a bumpy start, but I'm here.
Hey, we got the perfect excuse. I mean, last night probably got a little,
We do. We
a little
definitely
turned
have.
up yesterday. Yeah.
Blame it on the out. No, I'm just kidding.
No doubt, no doubt. Oh man.
So, welcome to Four Corners Legacy Podcast, episode number 2. Everybody.
Yeah, we're glad to have y'all, everybody that's tapped in. We appreciate all your input, feedback, comments. We're gonna try to do a little bit better than we did the last time with being able to see all the live comments. Um, this was something that we wasn't able to work out the last time, but we gonna get it rocking today. So looking forward to interacting with everybody. And yeah, we're gonna get right into it.
Okay. Are you able to see your Facebook comments or anybody that would be on with your Facebook
Well,
comment?
if you look up at the top, we got them all checked now. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Once the comments start rolling in, then we'll be able to address that as they come.
Okay.
Right now, I don't think nobody's even said anything.
Or we don't have any viewers anyway
Yeah,
right now. Okay.
yeah, that's good. That's cool.
And so everybody, today is January 1st, 2023. And we're just excited to be here. We want to pick up where we left off last time and remind you all that we're here to give you guys a different perspective on things and intrigue you guys to think outside of the box. So we will be doing that by covering various different topics and just doing it from a family perspective where we have family chats and we bring different angles to everything. So that's why we wanted to do this, and here we go.
All right, let's get into it.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's it's important to note that we think outside the box on things. So it's not like we trying to promote people to do anything that we aren't already doing ourselves. We kind of just want people to join in with the abstract thinking on different subjects. So yeah, we can get right into it. I think the first topic, if I remember, was we was gonna cover some Black demographics and talk a little bit about some of the statistics that are related to quote unquote Black people in American society. And we're going to take a look at some of those stats, positive and or negative. We're just trying to get a little bit of context on the reality in which we live. So I'll let one of y'all head that up and then we can just keep it rolling from there.
Okay, so Black demographics, is funny that you guys have mentioned that because I didn't know it existed. I'm sure most people don't know that it existed either. So some of the statistics or findings that we will be basing some of this information, it came from blackdemographics.com, where it is based off of, I guess, the census and different, that's where some of the numbers come from. So I chose to talk a little bit about Black-owned businesses and where we were at with the numbers on that. Forgive me if I don't have it all off the top of my head right now. So I'm just going to read a little bit about what I have. Black-owned businesses in the U.S. increased by 34.5% between 2007 and 2012, totaling 2.6 million Black firms. When you think about the number of Blacks in America, it doesn't seem like that's a huge number of people. So that was surprising to me. Also, the sad part about it is 8 out of 10 businesses that are owned by Black business owners will fail. And I'm just trying to find out. So those are some of the statistics that why are we failing? And so after doing a little bit of research, it's because we're not being afforded the same business loans or opportunities as other businesses are. Did you guys want to tap in on any of that? Did you have an input?
Yeah, I think that might have a bearing on Black business ability to be successful, is because that, like you said, we don't have access to the same sort of loans or the same amount of loans or capital that somebody who's running a business that's not a Black person might have at their fingertips. I definitely think that that's a part of it. Something that would probably be helpful for us to get over that hump is to continue to educate ourselves in all aspects of law. You know what I mean? Because when we start talking about loans and finances, there's laws that are set up in order to facilitate the process of all of that. So sometimes you can get caught up in your attempt to learn your business and forget the importance of learning the laws that are surrounded the ways that you can finance or fund your business.
Well, funny enough that you say that, majority of Black entrepreneurs start businesses independently, opposing to buying franchise connections or anything for the small businesses. So I think that plays a part in it. Definitely, we have to be knowledgeable about what is available to us, what is actually there, instead of thinking about what isn't. So
right.
Yeah.
Right. So, did you want to touch on that, Dees, before we go in a little bit deeper?
I basically kind of agree with what you guys are saying. That's why I really had too much feedback. It's all about doing your research, and you got to learn how to use other people's money, and
Yeah.
you got to establish some sort of credit and stuff like that. And they got the SBA at different places like that, and they, I don't. It's not. They say guaranteed business loans, but it's not for sure guaranteed. But if your business plan is up to par, it's almost certain.
Right. Well, and I think that's because, as I had stated before, 82% of small businesses fail due to cash flow problems. So I think it's important to figure out what research you have to do to find out what is available. And sometimes you got to keep knocking on a whole bunch of doors, taking a whole bunch of no's in order to actually get that revenue generated from other sources, and do something and think outside of the box, that, because if they're 82% are failing due to cash flow problems, either we're not being awarded the cash flow that other people are being afforded, or we're just not making the efforts to make it happen. Because I'm wondering, is it a little bit of both? I think we're scared as a people of failing. Oh, this isn't going to work, and that's not going to work, and we got to just try. You got to get out there and try, and you can't be willing to fold so easily. You got, if mom and pop's businesses have been in existence for a long time, but I think that they were cut from a different cloth. Everybody really does want things handed to them, and you got to be out there to go get it. You got to go get it. You got to go hard.
You got to show those people where that money's going. If you're borrowing money, these people want to know what their money's being used for, how it's going to come back, deadlines, and so in order to figure out stuff like that, you got to have a target market. You got to know which demographics your business is aimed towards, and it's just like I said, you got to do a lot of research on it, to really.
It's there. I want to thank Miss Angela Smith for putting her comment in there. I think this kind of leads back to what we were talking about before. Her comment says, using other people's money teach young people to borrow from their 401ks and certain life insurance policies. Rich people use other people's money. We need financial literacy. And that's just it, period. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I love that comment, because we have to teach that to the young people. And I even mentioned it in our last episode about the importance of life insurance and what it really can do to set the families correct. It's not just about, paying for someone's funeral. It can put the family in a better position when someone passes away. And if you're able to borrow from life insurance policies, who knew you could? I never knew you could borrow from a life insurance policy. So that's good information. These are the things that we have to share with one another so there will be more business opportunities.
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of us don't really understand. I know that was news for me, even though I do think it's particular types of life insurance policies that allow you to borrow against that. But nonetheless, that's an opportunity for us to, again, use other people's money. You know what I mean? Like Cleo had touched on with the borrowing from your 401k. I mean, if you've been getting up, grinding it out for the past 20 years and that money just sitting over there stacked, understand that that's something you can use to start a business. And it doesn't have to be a mom and pop,
Right.
A business is a business. Is it going to turn a profit? We might want to be more open to starting franchises if that's available. Yeah, she even mentioned you can buy property with the 401k. There's a lot. That's money. Like I said, if you've been grinding it out for any length of time, there's dollars stacked up in that account, and it's accessible to you.
Right. But the cold part about that also, though, is I know from my own personal experience, when I first got into the workforce, I was not knowledgeable of the importance of getting a 401k. I was so worried about, they're going to take this money. I need this money now. And we got to get out of that now mindset, because that now mindset had me working for an employer for so many years, and I wasn't utilizing that.
Yeah,
I wasn't.
No, I get it.
I
get it. Yeah.
So we want to make sure people are aware and smart. We have to be smart about that. So that was good information right there as well.
Yeah. And shout out to Angela Cleo Smith. We appreciate you tapping in and adding some giving some feedback to the conversation. It just helps it all to go smoothly when we have people that are giving their input along with the topic. So thank you again.
Right, especially people who have actually made these kind of business decisions. And they have that information. It's important to get out there and to share it. She shared it with us. We're sharing it with other people. And then when we have conversations outside of this, we will share that information as well. We need to make people aware of what's available to them.
Yeah. So I think I want to go ahead and roll into the topic, or to the information that I got off of blackdemographics.com. And the reason for that, because I think it highlights the importance of trying to learn what we need to learn from a financial standpoint in order to start and maintain successful businesses. So when I looked up, what I chose to look up was the African American income, and it has it according to age and compared to other races of the same age group. So when we're looking at men 25 years and over, on a weekly basis, they getting $991 a week, whereas all other races are averaging out at $1,211 per week. For women 25 years and older, it's $867 a week compared to $989 a week for other races. Now, the reason why I thought this was interesting is because from my standpoint, those wages, whether it been for us or them, that shit ain't enough.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's necessary for us to develop a business mindset. I mean, you hear people talk about things from times past, Black Wall Street and all of that. Of course, there was people going to work for the businesses of the community. However, there was a business mindset that even made any of that come to fruition. You know what I mean? So we have to understand that if we ever want to get over the hump in the way society is set up, not just as Black people, but just people in general, the way society is set up, you have to think outside of the prescribed program in order to ever get over the hump. Otherwise, we'll live and die as employees. You see what I mean?
Right.
You know, something that we might not call it a fixed income, but it feels like it at times.
It's definitely a fixed income. And it's the bottom line is this. If you don't build your own empire, you're going to spend the rest of your life building somebody else's. So you have to get outside of that.
With the education or without, I'm sorry. That's just an average figure. So obviously there's going to be some that's getting more money than that per week.
And that was only the ages of 25.
No, it was 25 and above.
25 and above? Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And okay, and so here's a question I was wondering too. If these numbers are only coming from what the census brings in, we know there's a lot of people who don't fill out censuses, to fill out the census. So we know people don't fill that out. So are these numbers even accurate? Because I was wondering when I was doing a little research, and it was saying Black-owned businesses in the U.S. increased between 2007 and 2012. I want to know how recent is this information, and that's what
it tells you that on there, depending on what you're looking at. I think the stuff I looked at was from like 2018 was the most recent one. You know what I mean?
Right. And so I just feel like pre-pandemic numbers are different than the numbers that are now, because we know that during the pandemic, a lot of people started businesses. A lot of people started to think outside the box, as we say, and try something different. So I think that that's something we need to figure out as well. What are the numbers to date in that attribute, in that regard, should I say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we won't know probably until they come out with a fresher batch of statistics. But like you said, during the pandemic, everybody basically, a lot of people was getting stimulus and different type of, income boost and PPE, all that stuff. And,
they had time at home. They had time at home to come up with concepts. Everybody was in the house. You didn't have anything else to do but think, and then think about other things, ways to make money. So that, I think we were forced to all look at that. But all the things they were bringing up now are things that make you go, right. I never thought about that. So It's important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we still didn't take a look at whatever it was that you came up with off of that website, Deez.
Basically, I looked up some statistics on crime, and it was basically saying that incarceration for Black men has decreased since 2014, and it was like from 99 to 2014 at first, and it got all the way down now in 2021. Before, it's obviously that's a little bit outdated, but it was all the way up to 78% in 2019, 78% in 2018, 2017, 78%, and then now.
When you say 78%, you mean it increased by 78%, or what are you saying?
No, it was a total of 78%.
78% of the people incarcerated were Black. Is that what you're saying?
It just it says basically it's kind of like a pie chart. So it just has the numbers on there.
The number. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
the good news in regard to that is I did notice that too, because I wasn't really sure what topic I wanted to approach. The good news is that the numbers are down, but when you look at what, according to Black demographics, they're saying that it's only 49 million Blacks, and that we only make up 14% of the United States and Americans in the United States. I thought that was a low number. I thought that that it should have been higher than that. So if you look at that number in itself and the number of people incarcerated, we still got a ways to go. We still have a ways to go.
Well, really, we need to have that light bulb go off.
So
slavery is still in place, and it's being done through the prison system. So,
right,
you know,
correct.
Which is a big part of why I stand on my square about what I be saying. And I know Dees agrees with me about this. A lot of the shit that we think is acceptable mindsets in the Black community, it needs to be crumbled up and tossed away, because those mindsets is what's leading us right to the statistics that he just mentioned.
Yeah.
It's not by happenstance. This is the way that they were able to keep slavery in place, but behind the curtain, though.
That's
right.
What it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It said in 2017 there were over 728 incarcerated African Americans, 475,000, in state and federal prisons, and 250,000 in local, county, and municipality jails.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, it is.
So
that's a lot of people when you look at the numbers. And so it's important to change the way people think. And that's why I say that we dive into the youth. The youth is where we got to focus on, because we got to catch them before they're getting in trouble.
Elementary school youth.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
we need to catch them.
Pre-fifth grade, because beyond that, you already got, shit you got to polish off. We got to catch them before they get to that. And not to say that the other youth would be ignored, but you have to stop the process at the beginning. And then whatever is going on beyond that, then we put in the efforts that are necessary to reel that back in. But if we want to stop the process, it has to begin with the youngest of the youth.
I agree. And it can't just be about yes, it starts at home, but we need to reach outside of that as well. We need to go into the schools. There needs to be more motivational speakers. We need our youth to be able to see that Blacks are doing other things. I think that I tapped on that also, the importance of providing them to be able to see it. We want them to be able to see that they can accomplish something else. If you live in a quote unquote urban neighborhood or the hood, and all you see is pimps, players, hustlers making it as you're on your way to school, then that looks good to them. But if you don't see that the man who owns the grocery store or the man who's working at the hospital, if you don't see those kind of people, and you don't believe that it's real. So we got to fix that part of it.
I get that, but see, that's kind of what I'm talking about, though. Like you got to start on such a minute scale, because we can say, oh, we don't see this, that, and the other in our communities. Guess what else we don't see? Hey man, how you doing? What's going on with you? Just because you're alive and I'm acknowledging your presence. We can't get to none of that until we start to see each other as equals, as human beings, as people that are worthy of, acknowledgement of our existence. And I know from the time that I spent living out in South Carolina and just traveling throughout that whole southern region, that happens far more often out there than it ever does in California. You can be out here in public and people act like they don't even see you. You understand what I'm saying? So when you're talking about how do we elevate to the point of seeing somebody being successful when we haven't even arrived at the point of simply seeing somebody? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right. But I think that Angela brings a good point, because she's saying more mentorships. And I think that's where it starts too, because we need to mentor them into saying it is okay to say, hi, how you're doing. And it's so crazy that it really is geographical, that when I first got to the South or the East Coast, when I got to this side, and people will hold the door or say hi. And it's like, what you up to? Why do I think that somebody's up to something because they said hello to me? I think that we should make that more common everywhere. Say hello, say how you doing. I think that's another thing. If we pull back into what was going on back in the day, Blacks were able to accomplish more because they knew they were all they had. So they helped and looked out for the neighbors. Yeah, they had more unity. They looked out for the neighbors' kids. Everyone, I'm gonna go down the street and tell your mom, I know that ain't little Billy Bob down there doing, and so people were helping other people. And I think that that's, again, in the word community, it's commune and unity. That's what I get out of it. And so I feel like that's where it starts. We need to start in the community. And we do need to have more mentorships. And that's where it's going to take place. We have to go back and do some footwork, just like what you were doing with going into with the gang tests. That you guys were working with the people.
Community outreach work. Yeah, I mean, and like I told y'all before, the compensation was the only thing that ever pulled me out of that. My heart was in. That's where if I had it my way, that's what I would be doing right now, still to this day, because I just felt like it was an opportunity for me to give back to the same community that I spent many years taken from. You know what I mean? So
well, and I think that you were able to see the other humanistic side of it. The mothers that were crying because they had lost a loved one.
Oh, shit. I seen all that. Yeah, I didn't need that job to see that. I had been seeing that.
But I'm probably going to sound like an asshole, but it's also reached the point where it's reached a point now where you kind of have to let nature run its course with some of the things that's going on in the Black community. Meaning, these drug dealers aren't going to get out of the streets. These people that are living these fast lives, we can mentor some, but we have to understand that statistics are involved with our mentoring as well, and only so much can be done through mentorship, because some people just aren't going to listen because they the damage has been embedded in us for so long in our communities that it's not going to work itself out. So like gangs and stuff like that, these people are going to continue to kill each other, and our best hope is that they hurry up and get it over with.
Well, I think that's what I meant when I said you got to start early. It's like if you talking about a patch of land that's riddled with weeds and all kind of other shit. You got to get in there. You could chase down these weeds all you want. You can chase down the healthy the plants that are still there and try to nurse them back to health, or you can focus on cultivating the soil. And that's what I mean, like, because then once you make the soil healthy, those weeds will wither away in time. And those plants that hadn't been completely overcome, they will come back to a healthy state in time. You got to go directly to the soil and cultivate that. You know what I mean? And then you spread your efforts out accordingly. But it has to start with the basis.
So how do we protect ourselves in the meantime from the violence that's prone to our people?
Well, again, cut it out. Okay, no, but everybody stay the course. Okay, it's better to get caught with than without. We all know your views on that. That's another show. That's another show.
Good though.
That's what I'm clowning. Don't take me serious on that. Yeah.
No, but okay. So this is what I say. That's why I say I've been looking a lot into coaching, as far as like being a motivational speaker and doing coaching. And it's not as hard as you think it is. And there is money to, that you can make as well, which will give you seed to put back into something else, to sow somewhere else. And I think that we have to try that approach as well by going into schools. And that's, to me, that's the only way to reach the number of people that needs to be reached, because we don't know how many kids they're just eager. They want to see something. They want to see something new. They haven't seen it. So I think that
we gotta turn their attention back to them though. And what I mean by that is we got to get them to be able to see that the greatness already exists in them. You know what I mean? We can't, because we could say, oh yeah, we're going to put them in sports and in this, that, man, that shit been going on for decades. And it ain't really yielded too much of a positive result. Yeah, sure. A small percentage of brothers get into the league and go somewhere, but it hasn't impacted the community from a larger standpoint. So to me, that means there needs to be an adjustment on the efforts that we're making to try to reach these kids, get them to see their own creativity, whether it be in science or whatever the case may be. Turn their attention back toward themselves so they can see who they are internally, and then the growth will take off on its own from there.
Yeah, because even like the athletes and entertainers, they're going broke after a certain amount of after they retire from sports. The longevity isn't there. They're falling back down into the poverty brackets and stuff like that too, because the lifestyle that we're teaching ourselves to indulge in. What I'm saying? Everything's got to be expensive. I got to wear the most expensive shoes. I have to wear have the most.
Well, it goes back though. It all leads back. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just saying though, it all goes back to the same thing though, the financial literacy part, the understanding of what to do with the money when you actually get it. Trust me, I've had money and I've lost money so many times. It's ridiculous. I mean, the amount of monies that have went through my hands, and I can't blame anybody but myself for not making better choices. I just think that those are some topics that really need to be spread through the community, through families. We need to talk more about money and exactly what are good investments? What are things to do with the money when you get it to make your money make money?
And if we're keeping it honest, majority of us don't have a respectable answer to that question. We might be able to make some investments, but are they actually good investments? Are they going to yield something that can continue on? Or is it just like, oh yeah, I made this investment, I did this, that, and the other, just so we can talk investments? But is it actually a good one? You know what I mean?
Right.
So when we talk about financial literacy, that's a huge part of it, because if we're not trying to figure out how to let our money use our money to make money for us, rather than using our money to give it to somebody else. That's what we want to try to be at, that place where, okay, my money's working for me now versus me working for money, and at that point, it's not even about being rich. It's about just being financially free. I can get up and this machine is going to run, and the money is going to continue to be generated, and now I can tap into my personal creativity to do this, that, and the other, and impact the community in a non-financial manner. You see what I mean?
Right. Yeah. And that would be great to do.
Blacks have spent so much money now. They like record spending from Black people in America, yet the net income has went down. What I'm saying? Like it's we're not getting nothing out of it because we did tricked ourselves into buying things that aren't really necessary. Like Louis Vuitton, and I'm against all that stuff because I feel like those people in those are country. A lot of that stuff is made in foreign countries, and they don't support our cause in no way, shape, form, or fashion. So I don't understand why we're so hell bent on supporting them. You know what I'm saying? And knowing that these people they don't support our people at all.
I think you're giving us more credit than we deserve if you think that has anything to do with the purchasing. It's about it goes way back to what they call them, the blaxploitation films and all that. Like it's like an identity crisis that exists on a community level with Black people. We have to look a certain way, dress a certain way, have the nice, but all of that stems from a lack of knowledge of self. You know what I mean? Because when you know who you are, that's going to add to the depth of your character. Then you got depth of character, that's going to translate into confidence. You know what I mean? And all that silver and satin don't mean shit at that point. You see what I mean? So it's like, that's what I meant about taking the youth and turning their attention inward. To hell with all this other shit, because it really don't mean nothing at the end of the day. But we have to, as adults, arrive at a place where we demonstrate that in our lives. Otherwise, the kids is looking at us. Now we on some, do as I say, not as I do type mentality.
Yeah. Hypocritical.
I can't help but ask, has anybody heard from Tusab?
No, she tried to tap in at one point. I seen it, but she fell right back out of the rotation. So, it's just like what we did before. We'll wait patiently, and we send it her positive energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was just asking. Maybe she needed help. I wasn't sure. She knows how to just jump back in, though, right?
Maybe not.
Okay.
I'm not sure if she does, and I can't really see the messages on my phone. That's why I asked you guys, because I'm logged in through my phone this time. But we can keep it moving. I just wanted to.
No, we can keep it moving. I wanted to take a look at something that Cleo said about buying properties in dilapidated communities, and that you could go to the city council for dollars. So this is something that I'm definitely not aware of, familiar with. That, can you expound on that a little bit, Cleo? I want to know about that.
And I'm going to give you my interpretation of what she's trying to say. If you take a look around, if you look how they, like even Oak Park, how they have, and a lot of Mexicans have bought homes and they're fixing them up. I think that's what she's saying, like, things that you can use your skills to do.
No. I'm talking about what you said, go to the city council for dollars. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, for dollars.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying
that's what I'm saying. Like, I want some insight on that, because I didn't even know that this was something that was an option.
She said lots of dollars.
Yeah, well, we're gonna have to talk about that
right
in the podcast, obviously, because that's worthy of some homework. Yeah.
So I see
somebody's background.
I see one of her comments. It's not mine.
Do you have more than one device on, Kasabi?
No, I only have one device on.
You're
I
not
barely get on this one.
There's somebody's getting feedback. She said it happened in Oakland. Yeah, that's something that for sure I'm gonna do some homework on that, because like I said, I wasn't even aware that was something that was
well, and another thing, one of her previous comments, she had also said to ask and to pull the people in, bring in the experts. So I think that would be she would be a good person who could also be interviewed at some point and bring a different aspect and provide us with some knowledge on several different topics. So I think she would be great to have on the show at some point.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah. So we had mentioned before about doing a financial literacy piece, and I know I had somebody that I wanted to bring in to discuss on that. Maybe you can politic with Cleo and see what her schedule is like, and then we can try to arrange that to where we can have both those individuals on the same show, and they can put their professional input into the conversation. I would love that.
Sure. I would love that.
I like this one too, where she says build group homes.
Very important.
Early, you catching them early on that. If you can get them some sort of direction through group homes, making sure they go to school and have a roof over their head, take them out of survival mode, so to speak. Where they can actually focus on self, like you're saying.
Right. I think that's a great place to start. We know I didn't do the numbers because I didn't want to be depressed. But we know that there's lots of kids that are in the system, not in incarceration. Can you mute your phone? Something is making a noise. But anyway, before they lead
Sure
to
ain't you.
incarceration, it could be.
Because it seemed like when you moved, I don't know. Let me make sure. It ain't no accidental. No, I don't know. It's
Okay, well, whatever.
It is exactly.
Because when
And that's what I'm saying. He gonna sit there and say it's
away.
Try turning your volume down, son.
What I was going to say in regards to the building the group homes, we know that the numbers of like what Giselle was talking about in regards to incarceration. So group home is a way to prevent it or kind of grab them. I know it's older than we would like to see, but maybe, that's also a way to grab people's mindsets before they end up in jail. That's a great thing.
Well, a lot of times, and here's what I think of when I think of a group home. A lot of times, you might have somebody that had already been incarcerated on a juvenile level, but it's for something that
mute.
It's for something that didn't put them into having to go do no real time.
Right.
So
right.
So
they might not be totally.
They can still
locked.
be reeled back in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Y'all all right?
Look,
it's okay if we gotta just drop a laugh or two.
Hey, you guys know my weakness. My weaknesses are certain noises. Even at work, it's like when our alarm goes off and I have to hear that beep, beep, beep for a long time. I'll be like, okay, somebody gotta fix it, because it's like certain noises make me crazy. So excuse me for my outburst in regards to that. But I do want to hear Tusa bring in hers. I know she wanted to talk about Black marriages as well, and she had pulled some numbers on that. I'm interested to hear what she has to say in regards to that also.
Oh my God.
Let's not lose our viewers. Come on, let's keep it together. Okay. Did you guys want to?
Oh boy. I ain't gonna never hear the end of this one.
We heard you. Why doesn't she just push mute? I'm not sure if she's understanding that we can hear all of that.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yes, we can hear you. Okay. Yeah. No, thank you for all the input and interaction, Cleo. We appreciate that.
We do, definitely.
Yeah. So I guess we're waiting to give her opportunity to touch on what she was gonna touch on. And if not, then we're gonna have to move on to the next topic.
Yeah, I think that we can, you had brought up a good angle. Maybe we can tap a little bit on some of the things that Gavin Newsom had talked about or brought into the 2023. You said you wanted to make some mention of that, Valley?
Well, I just threw it out there. That was really up for y'all to decide whether or not it was a good topic. So, yeah. We can get into that, but I kind of want to stick to the program on what we're actually talking about. But we can address that though. I just don't want to skip over anything in the process.
I like this one too, though, where she said people are using the other category, which drops our Black statistics.
I'm one of them people.
Yeah,
I'm one of them people, and there's legitimate reason for it. I won't go too deep into that, but it has to do with the fact that when you categorize yourself as Black or African American, then it limits your protection and your standing in regards to law. You know what I mean? So that's the reason why I don't do it. Like, the only place I'm ever gonna say Black African American is when I purchase a firearm, because they give you no other option. They want to really actually know when you're doing that. But outside of that, I don't never put that. I'm other, two or more races. Because what does that have to do with anything?
Right.
You know.
Well, I mean, I guess it has a lot when we're looking at these numbers, right?
It doesn't, because statistics are just statistics. True. I'm saying real life standpoint, what does that have to do with anything?
Okay.
If we talking about the census, that's the government monitoring what the hell we doing. So why do I want to give them a peephole into my reality?
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess she's not going to tap in and do her presentation.
I think she was having some more difficulties.
Well, whenever she taps back in, I guess we can jump back and let her throw her the topic out there.
Yeah, we can run back to it. So the question about the others, though, now that we think about it, it rolls right into the next topic.
Definitely. I was hoping that you would say that. I totally agree.
Is this an acceptable title? And I think we got to consider how we even arrived at a place of being referred to as Black or white or whatever the case may be. I think it was in 1735 that the whole racial caste system was introduced on a societal level. So when you look at that, mankind existed for centuries on end prior to ever having this division that's set up by skin color. So when we accept the terminology of Black, we're basically accepting the prescribed division that's been put into place by whoever these people were. I could go back and find the dude's name, but the whole point is it was set up for the purpose of division. And if we continue to refer to ourselves as Black or even accept that terminology, then we're kind of accepting that division that was put into place. We're accepting a title that was used for the purpose of division. You see what I mean? But now that we got Kasabi on, we could short step what we're talking about right now and come back to that. Did you want to touch on your findings about Black marriage? Kasabi. Tucson.
She appears to be frozen.
This is horrible, Frank.
Yes. Good morning, you guys. How are everyone today? Good morning, you guys.
Good morning. Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Can you guys hear me now?
We can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can hear
We can
you.
hear you.
What
Happy
the-
New Year, you guys. How you doing this morning?
Happy New Year.
I love. Okay, great. Yes,
Look,
black
leave well
marriages.
enough alone, okay?
It's Happy New Year to you guys too. Where to start at? this has been one crazy day. The reason why I got the name Tucson Shakur because I'm out in the yard trying to fix my cable line because the wind blew it down, and
That would be
oh my God, it was just crazy. But I got it up and running now, so I'm.
okay.
But as for black marriages, I think it's hurting. It's hurting our community because the children don't have anything that that they can see that they don't look what it's supposed to look like and have an identity to. You know, it's a lot of black men and black women that are single because they haven't seen a family structure or marriages, or they just feel like it'd be better to be.
Well, some of that goes back to unity again, like I was saying before.
Yeah, because I think that's really the centerpiece of unity is it starts in the house, you know.
I thought we were going to go over some statistics regarding
I'm
that.
about to right now. So in 2020, only 30% of African Americans were married compared to 48% of all other Americans. So 50% of African Americans have never been married compared to 34% of all other Americans. Let's see here. Figured I'd help her out because she's still having connectivity issues.
This is where KS got his data from. It's what some of those statistics you was just reading off.
Mm-hmm.
Because it translating to basically people
So
being
this,
alone.
yeah, this was important too, right here, you know, because I think it dispels some of the misconceptions that people have. As of 2021, 85% of Black men that were married are married to a Black wife. And 93% of Black women that are married to a Black husband. So we hear a lot of being talked about Black men marrying outside their race, and the numbers indicate that that's overwhelmingly not the case. You see what I mean? Yeah. What the real problem is that marriage isn't taking place. The numbers are fairly low. What was it? I'm trying to go back. I think, what was it? 30%.
30%.
Yeah. 30%. So, you know, that's the real problem, is that marriage isn't happening in the community, you know.
Yeah, because only 6% are widowed, 12% divorced, 3% separated, 50% never married is the biggest statistic.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I fall into that category. So I feel like marriage for me for a while, like I coming out of high school and stuff, I thought, oh, I'd be married in my 20s or something. And then I think in my 20s, I didn't want to get married. I didn't respect the union of marriage. As I'm 50 and have never been married, of course, marriage is something that I feel like I would love to do in this lifetime. I would love to see more marriages in our community. I think it is important to the whole unit. And I don't necessarily think that it's has to be to your race or not to your race. I just feel like a 2-parent home is important for our youth.
Yeah, it
Right.
starts basically. I don't see how it's a losing situation to tell our daughters, look, you tell somebody if they really want you, then they have to step to you with a ring and the right intentions, because you weed out so many people by requesting that. You by our, if our daughters were to say, you have to marry me and step to me right, you know what I'm saying? We already know this dude that's on the corner hustling, he's not gonna step up and do that. And so
Okay.
it's a process of elimination if you do it that way.
Mhm.
Right. So, which brings me to, if we go back in the day, because we spoke a little bit about things back in the day, we go back into the day, there were arranged marriages. Culturally, arranged marriages are done a lot for the specific reason of generational wealth, believe it or not. A lot of culturally, people want they handpick people to marry in other nationalities so that they can keep the money going, so that they can be two families that may be well off can continue to be well off, or a daughter marries someone who is well off to then bring a family that's not so well off. So I think that those are things to look at as far as statistically, or as far as just what's going on. Back in the day, at 16 or 17, you was gonna get married off, period.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we don't do that anymore, but I understand the reasoning behind that.
Yeah, but still, once you don't do that, that's why 80% of people that are in prison came from a single parent household, or somewhat or whereabouts 80%. I ain't gonna
Right.
quote the statistic exactly because I don't know it exactly, but I know it's an 8 on there.
Mhm.
Right,
It's
right.
80 something percent. And those are reasons why, and people want to ignore the real reasons why the stuff is happening. We could say, okay, it's because the dad jumped up and left out, or it's because it's because you skip steps in in how to build a family. You
Mhm.
Right,
you
right.
skip steps in how to build a family, and you think that you're gonna skip these steps and still have a family, and it just ain't gonna work out that way.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
It's very, I think we do need to encourage the importance of marriage, but we need to also encourage the importance on the reasons to be married, and the the sticking it out part, because a lot of people stay married. So it's a lot of different angles to that. But it's something else to think about, because we know that it does sit at, as you say, the fertilization. It all starts right there in the home.
Mhm. Mhm. I think something else that's reflected in those numbers is people that, yeah, they haven't been married on paper legally, but we all know that there's countless people that
Been
might
together
have been
30 years.
together 10, 15, 20 years, and they never went and got married. But
Right.
for all intents and purposes, that's still a marriage, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well,
They
common
living
law
like
is
married people.
9 years. Common law is what, 9 years or
It's
7 years?
seven, I believe. Yeah.
So if you've been
Is
with
it 7? I
yeah,
think
Common law.
we should look at that. Look at those statistics. What is that? Because I would be interested to know that. Common law.
yeah, I feel like females are the gatekeepers of you know everything that happens. So if if they were to ask for more upfront, then it could weed out. I have to reiterate that point. It just could weed out a lot of the stuff that's happening, man. If they just made that choice, look, you got to marry me to have me, you know, and all the suckers, they're gonna fall out of line right away. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna have only serious people left to contend with. Who's to say that it's not gonna be some people are gonna cheat, people are gonna lie, they're gonna be rotten people. Those are things that aren't going to change in human behavior. There's no such thing as perfect human beings, and I'll never ask nobody to be that. You know what I'm saying? I can't. I'm too realistic for that.
Right. So I looked up that information right quick, and interestingly enough, there is no common law marriage in California, according to drfamilylaw.com. It says that there is no common law marriage in the state of California. This means that if two people live together, there is no statute that confirms the right of married couples upon them. There are situations also where a couple believes that they are married, but they are in fact not.
Okay.
No common law in California.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that California was a common law state, so I didn't know that as well. That's why it's good. It's good to fact check and research. I don't have my laptop on me, and I'm using my phone for the podcast, so I don't have a way to research numbers. I apologize for that this time. As we know, I was traveling and did not bring my laptop. So I appreciate you guys going to get those stats. What else did you read?
It was just some other stuff about domestic partnership and the requirements for that it had to be two people of either the same sex or two people of the opposite sex over the age of 62 years. And I ain't want to get into all of that because I don't know none of that.
Okay.
And you ain't 62, or living with somebody of the same sex. So it just didn't really apply. Yeah. Just doing some further reading. So do you want to be called black? You like being black? You learned how to be black? We love to be black. How do you feel about that?
Black power. I mean, I do see I do see the I see where all the question comes from, but yes, I do feel like I can't with these people. We're gonna get it right, ladies and gentlemen. We are gonna get it right. I swear. This is our second show, and as you can see, we're still a little rough around the edges. Hello, am I the only one here? Do I like to be?
Sorry, I had little people ringing the doorbell.
That's okay.
I had to tap out.
To answer your question, yes, I do prefer to be called black rather than called African American. That
wasn't my question.
I know that wasn't your question, but that's how I can politically correctly answer it. And again, just off of my dome and out of my heart, I don't mind being called black. When I'm asked to think about it, well, where did it come from? And then, maybe if I thought of it on that level, then I might find some offense to it. I find offense to being called a nigger or Negro, but I don't find offense to being called black, which is the same thing. You know what I mean? So I get what you're asking. It's an uncomfortable topic for me because I prefer black again over the other.
Okay. So
by the microwave out there. You have your card?
So you prefer it over the other. Okay, mm-hmm. I get that part. But if we're coming from a clean slate, where there is no other. Okay. That's the real question. You know what I mean? Because I don't align with African American neither. Because
I just want to know why. Why do we have to have the focus? This is what I wish that we lived in a world where we didn't have to focus on that part. I guess that's that on the part of their color. On the part of color, if we started moving about as if nobody had color, I would love to see a world like that, I guess.
Right.
And it's probably a little naive of me to even think of such a thing, but I just think if we remove that boundary out of it, then we'd be in a lot better space as a people. You know, let's see people as people and not of a color.
I don't really give a damn.
Well, I think that's
I'm
the
probably
reason
more closer
why
to
it's
that.
important.
Yeah, I'm probably more closer to that than the average person. I just don't, you know what I'm saying? That's not important to me what color somebody is. That's not how I define a human being.
Right, but the question is,
That's what I'm
black.
saying
Is that
though,
an acceptable title? Do you if we remove all the other races, like we're asking, is black an acceptable title?
I don't like black. I don't like to be called black myself.
Okay.
All
And why not? Can we ask why?
well, we have to think about where it comes from.
Yeah, exactly. The origin of it, the meaning of the word itself, if you was to look it up in the dictionary, and that's the reason why they were calling us black. You know what I'm saying? Is because that's how they were translating all these other things.
Okay, so 1735, an individual, a Swedish naturalist named Carl Linnaeus, however you pronounce that, he's the one who introduced the whole concept of race and color. You see what I mean? So
Okay.
when we look at that and we say, oh, we're black people, we are accepting his viewpoint of how we should look at people according to color and race. Do you see what I mean? So just by calling ourselves black, we're following along with what he said. And we know that the whole purpose of him doing this was to bring about division. So prior to that, it wouldn't have been a white man. It would have been a European man. Or not even European. It would have been, an Irish man. It would have been a German man. Instead of a black man, it would have been a Moorish man. It would have been an Ethiopian man. Do you see what I mean? It came down to nationality just to describe where somebody was from. It didn't matter what their color was. So when you break down a group of people to color, it helps to rob them of their identity. You're black or you're African. What country?
Okay, and that's what I was gonna say. If you didn't view us as black people, or we didn't have that title, I get what you're saying, the color part of it. But what I'm saying is, then where would we be? Because culturally, what would we be considered at that point?
This is exactly the reason why we have to look at it, because we can allow ourselves to think that my little life and the life of my great grandparents is the only ones that matters. Prior to this being accepted ideology, like I said, he was Moorish, he was Ethiopian,
Right.
he was
Right.
You see what I mean? It was about where you were from. That's what you would be.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so
That
for
matters,
those people,
Aisha. That matters. What he's saying matters.
that matters a lot. But I'm saying, where are we from then? Where do we get to attach ourselves to at that point?
We were born in America. We don't get nowhere. We get nowhere. You know, we're not from nowhere. So there's not even no question about it. You know what I'm saying? But what he's saying is very important, because everybody is considered the same. And that means it doesn't matter if you're from West Africa. It doesn't matter if you're from, when you say black, nobody's from nowhere now.
Okay. From a cultural perspective.
And here's another thing that we have to consider. Like, okay, so you do a DNA test, and 9 times out of 10, sub-Saharan African. So the only people on the entire continent of Africa that ever left that continent were the people of the sub-Saharan desert. Then people that was building the pyramids in North Africa who have identical pyramids all over the damn globe, they never account for any of the DNA. When you understand what I'm saying? This is the reason why knowing where you're actually from is important. And when they put this type of shit together, it was deliberately to cause division and hide truth. So
I agree.
That's what we have to think along those lines when we say, I'm black and I'm proud. Am I black? I might just be Moroccan. I might just be a Cushite. I might be Ethiopian. I don't know what the hell. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and that's there you just said it with that last sentence. I don't know what the hell. Right. You know what I mean? Because we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Have either of you gone on it's a website where you figure out where you're from. And
no, I don't even be trusting
ancestral.com or have you bothered to look into who you are since you pose the question is all I'm saying.
It's only like 0.1% or something like that anyway.
You talking about like an actual DNA site, right?
Right, like an ancestral.com or something, you know, like where you find out and you say, oh, I have such and such Nigerian in me. This,
the reason the way they find that out is through submitting your DNA. But if you read the fine print on any one of those sites, it's only accurate within 0.1%. So if we just flip that over, it's 99.9% inaccurate. So why would I do that?
Okay, so then how would you trace your roots then?
It's not about tracing the roots. I don't have to trace my roots. What I have to do is understand that the image of me, of people who look like me, that has been presented to me is false, or it's a half truth. You understand what I'm saying? So when we start looking at what the truth of the matter is that, okay, it's more likely to conclude that I'm just indigenous to the land where I'm at. You see what I mean? Rather than giving that title to the so-called Native Americans.
Okay.
You know, well, how come I'm not indigenous? Prove to me that my peoples wasn't over here for hundreds of years before Columbo pulled up. Why do they get an indigenous title and I don't? You see what I mean?
Right. And those are all good questions. And I think that's the perfect explanation for why we have the show, so that you could pose those kind of questions. Again, we're going back to the because everybody's not out here thinking about those kind of things. We must remind ourselves that not everybody there's a part of their brain they're not using. So if we put this kind of stuff out here, now you force them to think about that.
There's definitely people that are indigenous to these lands because everybody wasn't a slave.
No.
Right.
We have to understand. Right. There was free men walking around. You know what I'm saying? And they were already over here, and they had settled over here before Columbus ever came over here.
Mm-hmm.
So how would they not be considered indigenous to the lands? You know?
And it goes really, really deep as to why those kind of things took place. You know, it has to do with the land grants that were being given to what were referred to as $5 Indians, where they set up this provision to be able to restore land back to the native people. Okay, these 5 civilized tribes. You know, out of all the hundreds, or maybe I think it was over like 1,800 tribes or whatever they said was here, but only 5 of them was civilized. So just to paint the picture of that, YSL going through what they're going through right now, and the civilized tribes of that group is the niggas that's taking the plea deal. So when I hear the 5 civilized tribes, what I hear is them is the
I can't with you with that one.
Out, okay. That's what I hear, you know, and I'm sure somebody's gonna be offended by me saying that, but it's just how else do you paint the picture? You know what I mean? And so these people are getting these land allotments or whatever, and the government is also giving these land allotments to people of European descent, some of them under the guise of being Indian, because they bought their way into putting their name on the DOS roll for $5. This is where you hear the term $5 Indian, meaning that you ain't got no Indian blood running through your veins. You just bought position on this list so you can get a land allotment. You see what I mean? And part of the reason they were able to do that is because they separated native from, they separated the colors. Well, you're not native, you're black. So when people say there's so much hate and there's so much trauma associated with the word nigger, if you do the history, there's equal amounts of trauma and hate associated with the word black.
Right.
So when you look at it that way, why is it more acceptable to us than the N word? You know what I mean? What's the difference really?
Ain't no difference. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's a good question.
It's food for thought.
Yeah.
I haven't categorized myself as black or African American and none of that on any paperwork that I've had to do probably in about 7-8 years, because I came to understand that was a part of the trick that's being played, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting that you have taken that stance. And I even feel that it's even more important for both of you guys, since you both have a knowledge in that area. Don't you feel an obligation to share that as well?
What
I
you
mean,
think
those are not right. No, I'm just saying on a broader scale, you know, that needs to be expressed amongst our people as well. Just like we're talking about financial literacy, that's a part that they need to know as well, because certainly it's not something that are being taught in schools.
Absolutely not. And they're not going to teach it in school, because some of the information that you come across, it's like it leaves you feeling like, damn, everything's a lie. This really is the Matrix.
Right. Sometimes
and those are important. That's important though. I mean, we're laughing and making light of it, but in the bigger spectrum of things, it's important.
Absolutely.
And I'm guilty because, like I said, I came in the show like power to my people. You know what I mean? But in the back of my mind, the last thing you said is really is equivalent to being called nigger. No, that's not cool with me. You know, when I have to think of it that way, then I'm like, oh no, that's nothing funny about that to me. So it forces me to learn more about that.
Yeah.
But
even because it's an uncomfortable subject for me. You know what I mean? Like, but sometimes you got to be uncomfortable to what? To grow.
But
So
I look at it like this: we have an opportunity to study our history and come up with what we think we really are. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's why I said what I said earlier when I was like, we kind of don't have nothing to call ourselves, because we're hundreds of years, possibly 1,000 years removed from our our true
identity. Yeah.
And who's to know it wasn't more than one dark race that made people, you know what I'm saying, back in the days. We don't, because like he was saying, Ethiopians, you look at them, they got straight hair, you got Aborigines and stuff like that. Obviously they're not the same as us, but their skin is the same as us.
Yeah. From a genetic standpoint, there's clearly some differences. You know what I mean? The only one thing that falls into character is skin tone.
Right.
You see? So by just saying black, it removes all the differences that exist between these people. And those differences might be key to understanding ourselves. You see what I mean?
Well, definitely key.
Yeah.
It's definitely key.
Because Aborigines darker than me. So if any, you know, how would they not fall under the same category as black?
Because people be looking at their hair. They got hair like a Puerto Rican. They so Puerto Rican in this hair. You know? But yeah, people look at their hair and they think, oh, you can't be, you got to be mixed with something.
Yeah.
Right.
It's probably 100% pure.
Right. You know, like you said, the Ethiopians, the Somalians, what them people, the Eritreans, them is black folks, but you can't tell by looking at their hair. But when we say we can't tell by looking at their hair, is that really just according to the imagery that has been fed to us that has influenced our thinking? When it comes to
of course it is. Of course.
For all we know, that could be what the hair looked like before we got what we got now.
Exactly.
For real.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, and again, I think all of those are very, very valid points. When we think about what we truly were robbed of and robbed from, our truest identity, to me, it's a whole nother conversation. It makes because it makes me want to dive deeper into the truths. You know, there's a lot of things that we were taught that that's not true. But we're so used to it; it's been systematically driven in us, so we chose to believe it.
Right.
But technically,
which doesn't make it true, though. It doesn't make it any truer.
Technically, the truth is out there. It's just not in. Maybe if they put it in movie form, we would be more susceptible to it. You know what I'm saying? But by a lot of knowledge being in books and written text form and stuff like that, a lot of people will never see it or lay their eyes on it because you know. And I guess you could have people that spread the message and enlighten other people about what's going on with that. But when it all boils down to it, we just know that we should be able to speak our native tongue, you know, to some degree. We don't have any of that cultural stuff in our lineage, you know what I'm saying? Like where we can look at each other and say something in a different tongue to each other. And it dates back and it goes back to where, you know, that's how you know that something serious went wrong. Because of that.
Well, we definitely know that. And again, if we look at other nationalities, they do have that working in their favor. Even something as simple as being able to share some information right in front of someone without someone knowing what you're saying.
Right.
That's a great thing to be able to do.
Right.
We can't do that.
Right. And that's part of the reason why it was stripped from us. That very reason right there. Like, yeah.
Right.
Hold on. What you say? Matter of fact, don't let me catch you talking like that again. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. So when we think about all of that, I think that carries us into our next topic.
Hey, hold on. Pause. What's up, Carter?
Hello. What's up, nephew?
All right, go ahead. I just wanted to say hi to him real quick.
Yeah, no doubt. What's up, nephew? So good and evil. We talked about things that have been done for the purpose of separation and division of mankind. You know, is that something that we could refer to as good or evil? And if so, why do we arrive at that conclusion? What are our thoughts on that? What is good? What is evil? What does that really mean?
And that's at the end of the day, I think that's something we should focus on. What does that really mean? Okay, so if we look at it, we know if we consider our mother, most people who knew our mother would categorize her as what? A good woman, period, right? So then we kind of have an idea, of just based off of that, what good looks like, right?
Mhm.
But we also know that she would throw a boot across the room. So she had that in her, but what she presented, what was most of her being was good, right?
Mhm.
So that would have to been shed down to us in some light, right?
Mhm.
But we then become a little more worldly, right? Than she was on certain aspects that brought in and entered us with the part of evil as well. You get what I'm saying? So I think everybody has good. Everybody comes here good. The world can make you an evil person. Life can make you evil. Life, things that happen or that you go through can make you bitter. And I think that that's where evil comes from. I don't necessarily think people are born into this world evil. I think that you're taught evil. Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay, I think I do. That you're taught it. I hear what you're saying, but I think I kind of disagree with that though.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Because I think that I think those are really it's more or less concept of good, concept of evil, but from a let's see, how can I say this? Generally speaking, in the eyes of the general public, when they think of good, they think of, a certain type of person or a certain type of being or entity. When they think of evil, they think of a certain type of person, being, or entity. They don't associate it with self. And I think it's just like it's duality. It's just like if you had a quarter, it's one unit. You have two sides to that one unit, but it's still one unit. And I think what we call good and evil are just aspects of the dual nature of our makeup. You see what I mean? I don't think we are taught anything. I think the situations we find ourselves in will pull from one side of the duality or the other. Whichever is necessary for survival of that circumstance. You see what I mean?
Okay, I'd have to rephrase I think maybe we are taught a little bit because people will make things that aren't good or things that are evil seem normal. Like, you look on Instagram and you see these video of somebody getting shot, and then you'll go in the comment section and they'll say, what did that person do? The person might not have done anything. You know what I'm saying? What justifies taking another person's life? That's if you don't have proper justification, it's definitely an evil act. So I think that we teach ourselves that we can do things like that with justification, even though it's not right.
Okay, so it brings me to the point of what brought this topic up when we were having a little pre-conversation in regards to this. And I said, so we're all on the cruise ship, okay? And this is what was in something that I had read. We're all on a cruise ship. The cruise ship begins to sink, okay? In the sinking of the cruise ship, we all end up on a little rubber boat. Well, we're on the rubber boat, but one of the people on the rubber boat got cut getting off. And so they're bleeding profusely and probably won't make it. The boat is heavy. The boat is heavy, okay? Somebody's got to go. Are you going to push that person over? Before I could finish the sentence last time,
so
Rally was like, "Oh, they're gone."
Okay, so
Oh,
if it
ain't nothing to think about.
Okay, so what if it's us four?
Right. There
okay.
you have.
Now it's gonna hurt a little bit more, but you have a severed femoral artery, and we do not have a tourniquet. You're gonna die anyway.
Right.
If we
If the
not
only
close,
way I can prove my love to you is to die with you when I'm whole and healthy, who's the evil person in that regard? Is it you because you want us, all three of us, to die with you? Or is it me that I'm like, I love you, going out to the sea, Who's the real evil one? And when you
I mean,
think about it, look at it like this. Look at it like this. It doesn't matter if it's a fly, if it's a roach, if it's a spider. When you attempt to kill it, its natural instinct is to evade that. And the reason
right.
for that is because all living things are designed with self-preservation in our makeup. If you put a plant in a shaded area, it will lean toward the sunlight because it understands that that's necessary for its survival. So if you do something to another person in order for you to survive, even if the rest of the general public doesn't understand it, is it really an evil act?
no.
I mean, and so I think that if it was us four, that the person who's bleeding profusely is gonna probably say, save yourselves. Just throw me, you know what I mean? Like, because we're a reasonable group of people.
I
But
jump off. I wouldn't even put y'all through that. I
and
love
that's
you.
the thing. That's yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, I wouldn't put you guys through that either.
Exactly. So I think that's
Especially if you really know you're not gonna make it.
Right.
And
If
see,
you
and
know
that's
for
the
sure
thing.
it's a wrap, like, why would I do that? I'm out, man.
I mean, and that's the thing. That was one of the questions. And I'm glad that Diesel, he changed it around to what if it was one of us four, because it was an easy answered question when it was just the other woman on the ship who hurt her leg. And you're like, gotta go. Yeah. Boom.
So-
You know what I mean? But when it comes to when it brings it closer to home, then it's like, ooh.
So I want to touch on something you said though, Deez. Like you see something on the internet, like where somebody's running a person down and they're killing them. And you think, oh, well, this person didn't do nothing wrong, to them. And they might not have.
Right.
I still think oftentimes it comes down to preservation of self. You might have a guy who lives in some other country where, organized crime and cartels is the most predominant way for you to be able to feed your family, is to be some sort of underling to this sort of operation.
Right.
Okay. So you're involved to a minimal degree because that's the only way you can provide for your family in the country that you live in. Now, suddenly there's guns thrown in your lap. You got to go take down this dude. You never even heard of this dude. He's nobody to you. You don't know him from Adam. But you also understand that refusal to do so gets you taken out the game. And now the very reason for you being involved, which was to feed your family, has been jeopardized. Do you see what I'm saying? So it might look like this is a heinous, senseless crime. For the individual who's doing it, he's like, hey, fool, this is the only way I'm going to live.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Like, more so, I understand that in some of those third world situations, you know what I'm saying? But in the United States, it's not necessarily like that. We don't have that. We don't have that type of beast over here.
No, in the United States, it's more or less people wanting to be like that.
Right.
Kai Brigham in the house. What's going on with you?
More like people are evil because it's greed behind it. It's money behind it.
Mm-hmm. The money system.
All they want is the money.
Yeah.
Most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big part of it.
Yeah, I try to stray away from stuff like that. Even though I'm an asshole, I'm still a lot like Mama. I don't really.
We all are.
What I mean is, I don't hold grudges against people. I don't do that shit because I ain't got time to be having that type of energy going on.
don't either.
Somebody done me wrong. If I
What
start
is
on that person, the chances of me doing something increase tenfold. Because I'm not just sit up and destroy my thought process every day. I'm gonna go try to do something to somebody if they're that important to me. You know what I'm saying? So I try not to think like that because
well,
I'll
you
do.
know, what you put out, you're gonna get back in tenfolds. And then when you put negative energy out into the atmosphere, it starts to feed. And when you continue to think about it or do acts towards it, it feeds even more. When you feed negative energy, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. It gets more and more positive. And that's just the law. That's just the laws of the universe. I mean, everything is energy. And once we realize that, you can't even be around people that are toxic. Because even when around you, they're around you because their energy is still with you.
Right.
Me and Tavon learned that lesson firsthand.
Just bad.
Yeah.
When we was worried about somebody
Who's a little kid?
talking about what we was gonna do when we see him. Sure enough, we seen him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
and that's exactly what we said to each other when it happened. Like, damn, we kind of brought that shit into
Oh yeah, you talked
existence.
him up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can do that, you know.
Right.
That's the power of the human mind. You know, you can manifest positive
All
or
it takes
negative
is just a little
in
bit.
your own life, you know.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
So
yo.
then think about that. We're talking about good and evil, or good
As
or
soon as you
evil.
give
However you
negativity a
want
nudge, you're giving it power. Yeah.
to. Hey, look, man. What's going on?
It's like you got a walkie-talkie over there.
Well, I know it's a good thing we're all here. We're all alive, healthy, and whole.
That's a miracle.
Yeah.
Me,
Yeah,
in my
no doubt.
mind, it's a miracle.
Mine too. And I think that good and evil, we could spin that on so many ways because we've all been exposed to evil, but overall we're good people. You know what I mean? Like you said, you still have a lot of mama left in you, D's, and I do too. But we have to tap into that.
I think that's what I'm getting at, though. Like when we say we've been exposed to evil, is it something that comes from the external? Because think about that. If we believe that we can manifest big businesses and love and family and marriage, how the hell do we not also believe that we can manifest death and violence and crime? And
You definitely can.
You can't say one comes from you, but the other one don't.
Well, I mean, I think we all have it in us. It's which one we nurture. Right?
Okay, so that's the very point.
Well, first we have to be specific with what we want.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like this here. From a worldly perspective, it's the devil is a liar, and Satan's trying to knock me down, no weapon formed. And then it's also God is good, won't he do it? And then you hear people say, oh well, karma is real. So they believe that you can put out negative things and it comes back to you. But when it comes to positive things, it's that, oh, God did it for me. We have to find a balance. If you can be internally and personally responsible for negativity, then you must also, the only equal opposition to that is that you're personally and internally responsible for the positive that happens in your life as well. And I think that's the part that we it helps us to be accountable when we don't got the finger to blame. The devil made me do it, or God did this for me. No, I did this.
Right.
Because whether it's karma or it's manifestation, it comes from within. Why do I have to refuse to accept the credit for the good or the bad in my life? Why does it have to fall on somebody else?
Yeah, I don't think I ever really thought like that, so to speak.
No, I know this isn't, because I don't think like that. I'm saying, like, for the purpose of the discussion, we could easily walk outside and the first 5 people we talk to, they think like that.
Yeah, no, you ain't lying.
You know what I'm saying? So
If they win $1 million in the lotto, they're gonna say God blessed them with $1 million.
Look,
Hey, actually, you went to the store and bought the lottery ticket.
so look, here's how crazy that is. I seen somebody on Facebook one time post a car accident, and people died in the car accident. Okay. And the other individual was like, "Oh, I just barely missed this accident. God is good." And I thought, well, damn, what do he think about the people that died? And he wasn't good to them? You know, it's like it creates a level of unfairness, I think, when we place these titles on favorable and unfavorable sets of circumstances, because we see it in the animal kingdom where the lion chases down the gazelle, you know, or the crocodile comes out the water and gets the buffalo, the water buffalo that's getting his water at the edge of the watering hole. Is that good and evil, or is it just nature?
Khalil, where's the plug part that I gave you to this light?
Why does it have to take a different context once we get to mankind, when we see it in all other forms of nature? That's the question, really, that I'm asking.
Well, that's good that you watch a lot of nature, because watching nature, it'll kind of tell you what's going on with us in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because we aren't as different as we want to be from other creatures on this earth. We got instincts the same way a wolf has instincts.
Right.
Same way, you know, an elephant has instincts, or you know, we're not some unable drones that are unable to think.
Mm-mm. Yeah.
Well, certainly we all can agree that whatever you're giving power to is what's gonna work.
Absolutely. And I think the reason why I feel like this is so important is because everything we were talking about earlier. How the host can mute my mic. Okay. It ties into everything we were talking about earlier. If we want to make the children be these great people, if we want to have this big business, this financial prowess, if we want to have marriage, are we waiting for it to be bestowed upon us by someone else? Or do we recognize that we have the power to manifest it in our own reality?
Right.
You see what I mean? What are we going to teach children?
Yeah. Well, we definitely have the power to manifest it. I've seen the power work too many times in my life, so I know that it exists. And when I am able to reaffirm where I'm at, I see the results. If I stew on something too long, and it can make me angry. So yeah, it can go both ways. It's just period point blank. If I was to sit here and stew on some of the things, and then yeah, it's gonna make me want to go and behave badly. You know what I mean? Or it can create a negative atmosphere around me. So we all have good and evil in us. We all do.
It's all about what you think is it's all about what you think is acceptable in the deeds you do. You know, if some people think stealing is okay, some people think robbing people or cutting the catalytic converter out the bottom of somebody's car is okay.
But and let's be clear though. Let's be clear. If you're sitting there and your bills are due and you have a need for money, you're gonna come up with ways or things to make the money. At that point, all you see is the money. The good and the evil side of it doesn't even weigh in. It's just what you need the money for.
It weighs in. Your better judgment leaves.
Right.
Because
right.
you go into survival mode. There's
right. And so because
one
this is
job
what I
that's
was
available. There's one job that's available, and there's two men with families who have a need to provide. They both go in with positive intentions.
Right.
But there's only one job to give. So when one of them has to walk away without the job, was that an act of evil to him? And if he, as a result of walking away without the job, has to go do something devious that night in order to put meat in the refrigerator, is that an evil act? Or is it just a necessary element for survival?
Yeah.
Right.
You see, like,
and I'm going to have to say it's very necessary for survival. It's unfortunate that sometimes life will put you in situations, or you'll put yourself in situations where surviving isn't as easy as it could be with proper choices.
mm-hmm.
So I think that's a way to look at it. And I couldn't do nothing but laugh when Diesel had mentioned the Cadillac converter or the stealing or anything, because I'm like, go hungry, steal something. You know what I mean? So it's like
that's a no-brainer. You know, look,
right.
we taking something. You know,
right. But most importantly, I think that we all have the ability to go to work. We all have the ability to earn an income and to make money legitimately. But sometimes even still, that's not enough.
It don't be, you know, and we looked at that earlier when we looked at the demographics. That shit don't be enough.
No, it doesn't. It's not.
If we keeping it 100, it's not enough.
It's not. But it removes that desire, that deep desire, the intensity goes away from it because you've got something coming in versus if you had zero. The person who has $0 coming in versus the person who's bringing something in, your thought process is going to be too different. Like you said, the man who didn't get the job that day, he still got to go home. And on his way home, he's got to make sure dinner gets on that table.
Mm-hmm.
What you think he's going to go in survival mode.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't always have to go back to evil. He could, you know what? Damn, I didn't get that job. I'm going to try this other job that pays $5 an hour less. And it'll at least cover some of what I need. Or, I won't be as bad off as unemployed.
Sometimes it ain't like, I'll just share an experience, and I had a job, we were in a position of hardship. There had been a few things that happened back to back. This when I was married, still living in South Carolina. A few things happened back to back. It's a house full of people, but it's only 2 adults in there working, right? And so when the paycheck come in, damn near all, and when I say damn near all of it was gone, I'm talking about damn near all of it. So after the funds get dispersed, I literally had like $5 to my name. You know what I mean? And I went to the Dollar General and grabbed a couple bags of rice and some beans, and we was able to eat. You understand what I'm saying? So like somebody else might have been like, how am I supposed to live, or how am I supposed to feed my family off of this $5? Rice and beans, it's still survival mode. It just comes down to a person's perspective. How are you going to address the survival?
Sorry, I'll be honest so much. Like I said, I haven't been to sleep at all.
Some people are not willing to eat rice and beans every night.
I ate rice and beans yesterday.
And we make chili a lot, or spaghetti, more than I want to, but I know it's gonna last. I know we can take some to work the next day. You know what I mean? You know that it's gonna stick to your stomach. So sometimes when you're making those kind of life decisions, you ain't gonna have no prime rib. You can't have tacos. You can't have, you gotta have something that's gonna be able to last for those couple of days until that next pay period.
Right. And beans and rice is the way to go. Yeah, you're gonna need some time throughout the day so you can get that out your system, because
Stick to you. Mama will make you pot of beans in a minute.
But the whole thing is like, how do we react to the when we find ourselves in a position where survival is key? How do we respond to that? Because
it depends on how dire the situation.
That's what I was about to say. There's always an option, but depending on your circumstances, your options might be limited to what we would call evil or the lesser of two evils. Sometimes that might be your only option.
Like when Nino Brown used little girl as a kid.
You're gonna have to mute that phone. I don't understand why we're having these issues again. My bad. Go ahead, bro.
No, I said like when Nino Brown picked up the little girl and used her as a kid.
Well, no, that was just.
That was evil. That was evil.
That was just sucker shit.
But in his mind, look, in his mind, he needed to survive.
Well, so no, you're right. When you put it like that, you're right. In his mind, he justified it as, this is what's necessary for me to survive, or it betters my chances of survival. Yeah.
Which I think that brings me to another topic that I would love for us to move into at some point, and that's mental health. I think that it's something that we have to address. We can't continue to ignore it if we want to talk about the growth of our people and success of our people as Black. I think that every home, a lot of people have been faced with it. So I think that that's a topic that we would have to travel down at some point.
Oh yeah, we could definitely cover that. That's something that everybody should be able to relate to.
Right.
Anybody who's ever been through anything has some form of mental damage from it.
Yeah, because I think that there's a stigma in the Black community that says, we can't seek help for that, or it can't be resolved. Everybody doesn't have to be a go to the therapist type of person, but sometimes people need to be redirected into self and the abilities that we have within ourselves to heal ourselves, to heal our bodies. So I think that those are topics like, for the person who doesn't have medical coverage or doesn't know or doesn't want to go to see a therapist, I think that we should make sure that we are letting people know the importance of the abilities we have within also to heal our mindsets. But some people, it's beyond that. Do you get what I'm saying? And there is a requirement for medication.
Well, there's mental illness, and then there's debilitating mental illness.
Right.
Some people literally can't walk outside because they have anxiety to that degree,
Right.
Or some people are afraid to drive a car because.
And I only brought that up
they don't have a driver's license because they don't want to drive a car. They're so scared to drive a car.
There's a fear. I mean, if you've ever been on the freeway in Atlanta with trucks on all sides, if you stuck in traffic, anybody can get anxiety. But for someone like you or Valley, y'all could drive a truck, so that might not be something that's a form of anxiety. But for someone who doesn't like trucks, riding through that traffic every day could give you anxiety to where you would not be able to go to work. There's different forms of it. But the reason I jumped on this topic, because I think that some things, good and evil, have to do with mental health as well. when you brought up the Nino Brown thing. I'm saying because in his mind, he needed to survive. No, that was definitely a wrong thing to do. But there's that mental health. There's that good and evil.
That was a very good example.
No, that was a good point. It was a great explanation. It was a great explanation. And I think it, like I said, when we bring up stuff like that, we have to dig a little bit deeper into it because there's an importance to it.
Or like the guy, he was in the mountains and hiking, and he like fell and got stuck in some kind of like rock slide or something, and he was trapped, and he wound up having to sever his own arm to escape. How many people would do that?
It'd have been hell of people that just died. Hey, look, I salute partner.
So sever your arm. Does that mean you got to come up with a way to cut it off and be like, how do you got?
He cut his own arm off
to survive.
He had a pocket knife on him and he cut his arm off.
Yes.
He had something. He had something to cut it off with.
You got to remember.
Because I was just wondering if he had to bite his arm.
He had to break the bone too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's disgusting. And a lot of people wouldn't have been able to bear the pain.
Well, he had to tie a tourniquet first and foremost to make sure he didn't bleed out once he started cutting. Because as soon as you make that first cut, you're gonna bleed out.
I can't with you guys.
But I'm the only reason why I'm laughing is because I'm trying to put myself in the mindset of old boy as he's doing it. Ooh, it was real.
It's life or death at that point.
Hey,
it's life
they heard him scream from 10 miles away.
You know they did. Look, hey, look, he scared the grizzly bears. They was like, what in the?
Because you got to give out a hellacious war cry before it actually goes down.
What's up, Breon?
So, say hello.
Hello.
He wanted to be a part of the podcast today, so I told him he could not. But since we're going to be ending in a second, I thought I would let him step in.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, grandson. Hey, world.
Hey, world.
Hey, look, the world is one person.
Hey, but it's been fluctuating.
I know, but I just can't understand why we're not picking up the momentum on that area, and I got to figure that out because that's troublesome to me.
It takes time. It takes time. So I don't even focus on none of that. I think for me, it's more important to focus on having
I wish we could.
Having commentary that actually matters. You know what I mean? That's what's going to give us traction over time. I ain't worried about none of these views and none of that. All of that's going to come later. We just got to make sure we on point with our topics and our discussion as well. And you know, the bagels and stuff.
We know that everybody thinks about the same stuff that we think about.
You're making people hungry over here. I ate that this morning. You know?
But we know,
and that's what I'm like thinking to myself, because you know, on the news or on a something like that, they're not gonna have a bagel, right? They're not gonna have a bagel, and so I'm saying to myself, well, they have commercials, and in the commercial, you run over there and you chew up a couple pieces of food and you eat. But I'm like, how do you go the whole length of time without moving, without getting up? And you know that.
Shit, I done switched seats, all kind of shit. Like I was getting sore sitting on that chair. That a little too hard in a couple spots. I said, let me get a different chair real quick. Yeah, that's why I'm lower down on the camera. But yeah, everybody thinks about what we talking about. It's all about being honest about what you know, good and evil, these demographics, these, you know, all the stuff we've been talking about. People just don't be honest about the shit.
Mm-hmm. The thoughts are crossing their mind. It's just the willingness to speak on it isn't typically there. Yeah, so mental health, I think that's something we can definitely incorporate into, if not our next show, one of the upcoming ones in the very near future, because that's important. Um, yeah,
Tucson.
but we're getting close to our mark. So
Yes.
Let's
uh,
give
but
Tucson.
thank everybody for tapping in, everybody who took time out to interact in the comments that was able to watch us for any length of time. We appreciate all the interaction and support, and we will catch y'all on the next go round.
Let's give Tucson at least 60 seconds. She ain't said nothing the whole podcast.
Okay.
Right now, I'm so shook up because this is not Kasavi that you guys are seeing. I'm not frazzled and scatterbrained, but for some reason, I'm having an obstacle on this. I'm a little not feeling right because it shouldn't be that hard for me to get in on this and be having a good time like you guys are, and it's been an obstacle both times, and it hurt my feelings, and so I've been sitting here not saying nothing because it's like as energy as I channel to, I'm studying and write stuff down. I can have proper conversation, going and reading on our podcast how to do certain things, and then it still didn't turn out right, and I just didn't understand that, and I still can't figure that one out. But I'm gonna leave the podcast saying that I'm gonna put another foot forth on making this a great podcast. And what's our next topic is going to be on mental health, you said?
Well, we talked about just incorporating that into,
Hello?
if not the next one, one to come in the near future.
Yeah.
So we're not dialed in on any
Well, I
topic,
know one
but
thing. Well, I'm going to start using more affirmations to put my divine energy in the right direction. To speak what I want to happen, I have to be specific on that, for it to manifest and to build. I got it to you. And let the energy just flow, and then exercise what I want to start doing. I say I want to get done, and then it will start working for me. I think it didn't consciously.
It's as simple as
what I was saying earlier. We can't speak
proper Wi-Fi connection. That's really the only problem you have. Don't think too hard on it. It's proper Wi-Fi connection.
No, I have proper Wi-Fi. My kids blew down and it blew the shit out over here. I'm looking off my phone.
I told you I'm very sensitive to sound, and it really does. I'm not making it up. I gotta go.
All right.
I didn't even hear what she said.
She gotta go.